Marcus Williams wiped the sweat from his forehead as he pushed the industrial mop bucket down the empty hallway of Riverside Elementary. It was 11:47 p.m., and the school was tomb quiet except for the rhythmic squeak of his cartwheels and the distant hum of fluorescent lights. His calloused hands, rough from years of cleaning chemicals and hard work, moved with practiced efficiency as he cleaned each classroom. This wasn't the life he'd dreamed of 20 years ago when he'd sit in his tiny apartment, crafting melodies on a second-hand guitar and scribbling lyrics on napkins. But dreams don't pay for groceries or keep the lights on for a 7-year-old daughter who still believes her daddy can do anything. The memory of little Emma's proud voice echoed in his mind from earlier that evening. "My daddy writes the most beautiful songs in the whole world." She'd announced this to her teacher during parent-teacher conference, her gap-toothed smile beaming as Marcus felt his heart simultaneously swell with love and break with the weight of unfulfilled promises. He'd given up his music 3 years ago when Emma's mother left, leaving behind only a note and the responsibility of single parenthood that demanded every ounce of his energy and every dollar he could scrape together. As Marcus entered the music room, his breath caught. There, gleaming under the security lights, sat a grand piano. His fingers twitched involuntarily, muscle memory calling to him across the years of silence. He glanced around the empty room, then slowly approached the instrument. Just one song, he told himself, just to remember who he used to be. His fingers found the keys, and the melody that poured out was hauntingly beautiful, a composition he'd written during those late nights when Emma was a toddler, sleeping peacefully while he channeled his hopes, fears, and overwhelming love into music. He called it Tomorrow's Promise. A song about holding on to hope when everything seems lost. The music filled the empty classroom, raw and emotional, carrying the weight of sacrifice and the tenderness of a father's love. What Marcus didn't know was that across town, struggling musician Jake Chen was driving home from another disappointing gig, his radio tuned to a local late-night show where the DJ occasionally played amateur submissions. The show's producer, working late to fill airtime, had been secretly recording audio from various locations around the city through a network of environmental microphones installed for a community safety project. The microphone in the school's music room had picked up Marcus's impromptu performance. 3 weeks later, Marcus was mopping the same hallway when a familiar melody drifted from the janitor's break room radio. He froze, his heart hammering against his ribs. That was his song, A Tomorrow's Promise, but it was polished, professionally produced, and being announced as the debut single from rising artist Jake Chen. The mop handle slipped from his trembling hands, clattering to the floor. His song, his most personal creation, was being broadcast across the city, credited to someone else. The DJ was gushing about how the song was climbing the local charts and had caught the attention of a major record label. Marcus stumbled into the break room and collapsed into a plastic chair, listening as his melodia, born from sleepless nights and a father's devotion, launched another man's career. For 3 days, Marcus wrestled with a storm of emotions. Anger burned in his chest, righteous and fierce. This was theft, plain and simple. He had recordings on his old phone, voice memos with timestamps that proved the song was his. He could call lawyers, demand justice, fight for what was rightfully his. The money from a hit song could change everything for Emma and him: better schools, a real home, maybe even enough financial stability for him to pursue music again. But as he watched Emma at breakfast on the 4th morning, humming contentedly as she ate her cereal, something shifted inside him. She was happy, she was healthy. She had a father who showed up for her every single day, who read her stories and helped with homework and made her feel like the most important person in the world. What would a bitter legal battle do to that peace? What would it do to her to see her father consumed by anger and resentment? That evening, Marcus made a decision that would have seemed impossible just days before. He looked up Jake Chen online and found the young musician's email address. Instead of a cease and desist letter, Marcus wrote something else entirely. Jake, I heard my song on the radio. Tomorrow's promise came from my heart during some of the hardest nights of my life as a single father. I won't pretend I'm not struggling with this, but I've been thinking about what really matters. Music should heal, not hurt. If my song can help your career take off and bring beauty into the world, then maybe that's enough. I only ask for one thing: use whatever success this brings you to help other people. Make music that matters. The song is yours now, but remember that it came from a place of love. Jake's response came within hours, and it wasn't what Marcus expected. The young musician was horrified to learn the song's true origin. He confessed that he'd found the recording online and genuinely believed it was an unclaimed piece in the public domain. He begged Marcus to meet him. 2 days later, they sat in a small coffee shop near the school. Jake, barely 25 with nervous energy and genuine remorse written across his face, pushed a check across the table. This is everything I've made from the song so far, he said. And there's going to be more. A lot more. The label wants to sign me, and they're talking about a full album. Marcus stared at the check. More money than he made in 6 months of janitor work. His first instinct was to refuse it, but Jake continued talking. I want to do something bigger, Jake said, his eyes bright with an idea that was clearly forming as he spoke. What if we became partners? What if we started a foundation that helps struggling parents pursue their dreams? You've got more songs, don't you? I can hear it in your voice, see it in your eyes. We could create something that helps people like you, people who've had to put their dreams on hold but still have so much to give. That conversation was the beginning of everything changing, but not in the way Marcus had ever imagined. Within 6 months, Tomorrow's Promise had reached the top of the national charts. Jake insisted on sharing writing credits and royalties 50-50, despite Marcus's protests. But more importantly, they'd established the Tomorrow's Promise Foundation, an organization dedicated to providing resources, childcare, and financial support to parents who wanted to pursue artistic careers. Marcus still worked at the school, but now by choice rather than desperation. He'd become the foundation's primary talent scout, identifying struggling artists in his community and providing them with the support he'd once desperately needed. Emma, now 8, often accompanied him to foundation events, her pride in her father's work evident in every beam of her smile. The most profound change, however, was in Marcus himself. The bitterness and resentment that could have consumed him had been transformed into something beautiful. His decision to respond to theft with grace hadn't just preserved his relationship with his daughter, it had created a ripple effect that was changing hundreds of lives. On a warm Tuesday evening, exactly 1 year after hearing his song on the radio for the first time, Marcus sat in his small apartment's living room with Emma curled up beside him. His guitar, long silent, was back in his hands, and he was teaching her the melody to Tomorrow's Promise. "Daddy," Emma said, looking up at him with the same gap-toothed smile, "your song is on the radio all the time now. Does that make you famous?" Marcus smiled, thinking about the dozens of struggling artists the foundation had helped, the families who no longer had to choose between dreams and survival, and the way kindness had multiplied exponentially from a single decision to choose grace over anger. "No, sweetheart," he said, strumming a gentle chord. It makes us something better than famous. It makes us part of something bigger than ourselves. Outside, the radio in a neighbor's apartment was playing Tomorrow's Promise, the song that had started as a janitor's late-night lament and become an anthem of hope for dreamers everywhere. But the most beautiful music was right there in that small living room, the sound of a daughter learning her father's melody, and a man who had discovered that sometimes losing everything is the only way to find what truly matters. The Foundation's motto, printed on every flyer and website, came from Marcus's original email to Jake: music should heal, not hurt. It was a philosophy born in a moment of choice between bitterness and grace, and it had become a movement that proved kindness, once released into the world, has no limit to how far it can travel or how many lives it can transform.